So first, I'd like to begin with the economic hindsight. And I'd like to go as far as I can, ano? Kasi yan ang nakakalimutan natin karaniwang mga Pilipino ay yung ating history, no? The richness of our history, at nakakalimutan yata natin ang lessons ng history. Kaya gusto ko lang pong balikan, okay? So this is the Philippine GDP trajectory, no, since 1961. So ito po yung earliest na nakuha ko, no. So if you take a look at it, talagang mayroong isang taon, mayroong 2 taon na talagang doon tayo bumaba. Okay, and if you take a look at this, it was actually during the Marcos dictatorship that we had a very bad recession, no, for 2 years. So negative 7.3% po yung GDP growth natin nung mga panahon na yon. So gross domestic product is the measure of the productivity of our country, no? So moving forward, if we take a look at the graph closer, ano? So this is our GDP still and the inflation. Yung red po ay inflation, yun pong color green na line, that is our gross domestic product. If you take a look at the 1967 to 1986, 1985 thereabouts, no, which is highlighted in this this is the Marcos dictatorship period, kung saan mataas talaga yung inflation natin, and then yung GDP, although may mga panahon na mataas siya, but towards the end talagang nagkaroon ng ng divide. Sobrang taas na inflation, tapos bumagsak ang ekonomiya. Also in 1990, we had the oil and the energy crisis, which again, we experienced a recession. So negative 0.6% ang ating GDP growth at this period. And then in 1998, actually ito na yung medyo natatandaan ko, no, na crisis talaga. 1998 Asian financial crisis, kasi ako po ay nasa college at this year. Ramdam na ramdam ko yung aking mga magulang na nahirapan sa tuition because of the Asian financial crisis. And with this, we also experienced a recession. And this is actually the last recession that we had, kahit na nagkaroon ng global financial crisis noong 2008. No? In 2008, we escaped the global financial crisis because we were able, I think, no, in my opinion, we were able to learn something from the Asian financial crisis at naihanda at less ang exposure natin from the risk assets coming from the West at this period. So we had the low growth, but it was commendable kasi hindi siya nag-go into recession. Okay. So if we look closer naman from the 1987 to 2009, ano? If you take a look at the 1987 to 2000 graph, we still have higher inflation. That's the red mark, okay, the red trend, and lower GDP. Pero hindi na kasing laki ng yung inflation natin in the past years. During the Marcos period. And so I always compare GDP and inflation as GDP as a step moving forward and inflation step backward. Ano? Kasi growth yung pinag-uusapan natin. So kapag pinag-add mo itong dalawang ito at negative ang resulta niya, so hindi talaga tayo nag-grow. So kunwari, nag-grow tayo ng 6%, tapos sa GDP, pero may inflation na 3%, 6 minus 3, ang growth lang talaga natin, the real growth is just 3%. So here, dito sa panahon na ito, from 1987 up to 2000, medyo yung pag-abante natin ay mas bumibilis na kaysa sa pag-atras. Ano? Ganun din, at mas naging mas naging okay pa noong 2001 to 2009. Mas naging stable tayo. And this just goes to show what bad governance does. Ano? Talagang it stalls our growth and it affects the lowest segment, no, of the societies kasi sila yung vulnerable. So 30 years yung nawala sa atin, no, because of that. if you take a look at the from 2011 to 2019, ayan na, actually this is the graph that what we want to have. Mataas na GDP growth rate tapos mas mababa yung inflation. So at this period, mas mabilis na tayong umabante kaysa may pag-atras ng inflation. So this is the a good economic indicators that we want to have. Okay. Unfortunately, of course, we know that 2020 has been slammed the brakes towards this growth that we were experiencing. Pero the question that we need to ask here is, ito bang in the past 10 years, 2011 to 2019, kahit hindi pa natin pag-usapan yung 2020, naramdaman ba ng mga naramdaman ba ng mga mahihirap yung growth na ito? And the answer here is parang hindi, Kasi if you take a look at this graph, this is the graph of, if you take a look at 2004 hanggang the present period, this is the self-rated poverty coming from the social weather stations. At masasabi natin na parang hindi masyadong nagbabago. Nagsasayaw lang siya dito sa 50% na mark in the past 15 years. But if you compare that with the improvement of our credit rating sa ating macroeconomic indicators, ay pa-improve tayo ng pa-improve. So what this means? What does this mean? Nasa investment grade ang Philippine macroeconomics, pag titignan natin siya. Pero ito ba ay nararamdaman ng mga nasa ibaba na talagang dapat sila yung nakakaramdam ng kaginhawaan? At mukhang ang sagot dito, ayon sa survey na ginawa ng social weather stations, ay mukhang hindi, hindi pa nararamdaman. So napakalaki ngayon talaga ng challenge na mas ibaba yung development na natatamasa ng Pilipinas sa laylayan ng lipunan. At mas naging challenging pa yan dahil sa pagdating ng COVID-19. Yun.
Thanks for watching. Kung may kapamilya, kaibigan o kakilala kang tingin mo ay magiging interesado dito sa video, please share to them or tag them in the comments section. Siyempre, kung nagustuhan mo ang video, pusuan mo na ito. Subscribe ka na rin. As always, feel free to write your questions, comments, and opinions respectfully.